All right, well, let's get on with part 2 and put this thing back to, oh, it's already back together. Yeah, that's right. I put it back together, but I do have footage of that. The initial video that I was going to do for part 2 was a reassembly video, including showing off the pieces that I glued back together, the replacement display, etc., etc., etc. But it's been ridiculously hot, and my camera's been overheating, and you combine with the camera overheating with the additional lighting that are themselves contributing to extra heat and everything, and it just continued to give me issues with either audio or video or both. So I'm going to try to put together some B-roll footage out of what was supposed to be A-roll footage, primary footage, and I'll go over what I did. So as you can see, it is back together, and it's in pretty good shape overall. There are some scratches and everything up top here, as I showed originally, but nothing I can do about that. Everything is good to go, and if you'll notice, there are no missing pieces. Well, I take that back. This one technically here, but we'll get to that in a bit. So initially, I tried to put the bottom shell together, and I think I did a pretty darn good job. Now, there's still pieces missing because they just weren't there. Nothing I can do about that, unfortunately. But one thing I did notice is that the bottom of the bottom housing seemed to be kind of warped, and I don't know if that happened after it had broken or if maybe it was already starting to warp and that created a stress point, which is where the cracks formed. Whatever. I figured, well, let me put the system board back in. It'll hold everything back together. But then I started thinking about it some more, and I'm like, well, as soon as I put that board back in place, I guarantee you it's going to crack again. Some of the screw posts had already broken off. I had reattached them and everything. It's pretty much toast. I mean, you look at the thing the wrong way, and it's going to fall apart. So I did what every other tech tuber usually does, and I bought another one. A mostly complete unit. It didn't have the front display bezel, and it didn't have the keyboard, but everything else is included, including a system board and everything. And this one, unfortunately, also had a little bit of damage, but significantly less. The damage this one had was basically here and here, and then this piece here, which fell out after I glued it together. I was expecting that because it was so little material there to, adhere glue to that it was never going to, stick properly. Also, from the original display, this piece was missing, but I took a piece off of the replacement one and just attached it there. It works. It's not perfect, but whatever. The system is basically intact. So now I did also test everything off camera when I first got it. The system board powered on. I hooked up to an external display, and I was able to get video output on there. Everything worked. So I'm like, you know what? We're just going to keep that system board in here, and the original one I'll use as spare parts. The benefit of that, on top of the fact that I won't have to take it out and risk damaging the bottom half of the shell any further, is that it came with a 166 megahertz Pentium processor, whereas the last one had only 150. So kind of a little bit of an upgrade. But anyways, I went ahead and I started putting everything back together, put the new display panel in. It is a DSTN panel, not a TFT, but I was able to find that one pretty cheap. So I figured, why not? And it was a new old stock Hitachi display. So I figured we'll just go with it, whatever. I also went and replaced the internal hard drive with a CF to ID adapter. The original hard drive works, but it's a 1.4 gig and it's starting to make some noises. So I didn't want to, take any chances. Plus, I never want to have to open this thing up back again because I am terrified that it's just going to crumble apart. So I put a 2 gig CF card in there, and I was able to use recovery software, which I was able to get from archive.org. Also, I'll try to put some links below. You need a boot floppy to be able to access everything on the disk itself, but then it sits there, grabs the image off the CD, and dumps it onto the internal hard drive, and that's it. And it works. It boots up and all of that. And on top of that, if you'll notice, nothing's plugged in. However, it's hard to see the screen, so let me turn the lights down a little bit and up the ISO. But it is powered off of the internal battery. Now, I don't know how long the battery's going to stay, but, it works. So A little bit of a mortar pattern. Unfortunately, that's just the nature of the camera and the display tag. Not much I can do about that, unfortunately. But it's fully imaged, it boots up, and it works. So let's go ahead and do a little bit of exploring. I won't go too in-depth in it. There's been quite a few videos on the 380 already out there. But I'll just go over some basics here. And there's just a few things that I'm going to try, and we're going to wrap this up. So as you can see, the display isn't horrible. It's not the best. And to be perfectly honest, under certain lighting conditions, you can see a little bit of a minor, we'll call it tunnel vision effect. This display, even though it is new old stock, it's an old display. It's going to suffer from the same symptoms that a laptop might have been, that was used for years and years is going to. And the polarizer film is eventually going to separate, vinegar syndrome and all that stuff. So this probably has a couple of years if I were to use this regularly, which I won't. I'll be using it only for when I need it for whatever purpose. But for now, it works good. It's nice and bright, and it is, visible. Although moving the mouse cursor, it's kind of difficult. There is some ghosting there. May have to turn on mouse trails just to make it a little bit easier. So I'm not a huge fan of the track point anyway, and I know that's going to probably offend some of you out there, but it's just not a great thing to use compared to a mouse or even just a trackpad. Now, this does have a PS2 port, so I could always attach one, and I may do that for the rest of this video. We'll see, but for now, let me just go ahead and turn on the mouse pointers, or the, what do they call it? The pointer trail. That makes it a little easier. One thing we will take a look at here, again, it only shows the actual Pentium, not the speed. It is a 166 though. It's running Windows 95 version B. Device manager, it does show an error with communication port COM2. I believe that's the infrared port, and I don't have that enabled. Everything else seems to be fine. Audio is a Crystal PNP. We've got the Neo Motion Magic Graph 128ZV. I'm guessing it's a custom IBM ThinkPad version since it's got that listed there. Everything else is just your standard Intel chipset stuff. But yeah, everything seems to be working otherwise. So that was a relief. I didn't waste all this time and money getting this to work for it to not do anything. So we do have the ThinkPad demo, which we're not going to run again because a few other YouTubers have already done it. It does come with Internet Explorer. It comes with Netscape and IBM's global network. I'm not sure what that is exactly. I don't have any network adapters on here, so I can't test it anyway. And it probably wouldn't even work today anyway. So preloaded applications. CompuServe, IBM Online House Call, Netfinity, and then of course Netscape. We got Pointcast applications and Transit. How much battery life do we have? 100% remaining. Look at that. All right. Now, again, I don't know how long it's actually going to last, so it may power off on me. I've got to fish out the charger cable that just fell behind me moments ago. There's a list of the pre-installed apps again under the Start menu, and that's basically it there. I wonder, they would probably have to be using DOS 7, whatever's built into Windows 95, right? There would be no way to force PC DOS on here. So one of the things that I wanted to try, because getting software on here, there's ways to get software on here, files, things like that. I've got the floppy disk drive, which works. I've got the CD-ROM drive that works. So I could always do that. But I also want to see if this will work. It's a compact flash adapter for your PCMCIA slots. So I don't know if it's going to work, but we'll find out. Because that's one of the things that I haven't had a chance to test yet, were the PCMCIA slots. Because I don't think I have any cards anywhere. But if this works, it'll be a great way to get software on here using just a CF card. So IBM antivirus is running. Oh, look at that. Must be a pre-scheduled thing. I'll just let that run. Why not? Card wizard detected. Look at that. Yeah, I'm using the bottom slot, so it does see something in there. We'll let it do its thing. We'll be right back. Not detecting any plug-and-play installation components. I do not have a diskette for this. Let's install it as that and see what happens. Alrighty. Yeah, why not? Who cares if the antivirus scan's not done yet? We'll be back when it's rebooted. All right, it's finished restarting. I have absolutely no idea, though, if it's going to work or not, so I don't think it sees it. But then again, I've never really used this adapter before. I have no idea if it does need any additional software. It didn't come with anything. And I haven't even bothered to check to see if there's any software online available for it. So we'll just, maybe we'll give this a minute or two to see if it needs to do anything. Okay. It's also possible the card isn't formatted. It only sees one disk, so oh. That's right. It works a little bit differently. Not present, not working properly, doesn't have all the drivers installed. It's not going to find anything because there are none. Let's try that. See what happens. And no go. So that's not going to work. Sure, there's something I'm just not doing right. Again, I haven't really had a chance to test that adapter at all, really. I got it specifically for this as well as the Toshibas so I can get software onto them more easily, especially since the Toshibas only have a floppy disk drive. And since the first one doesn't have a working one, the second one may or may not work after I replace the caps and the belt. But I wanted some way to get software on there, especially since those Toshibas don't have any CD-ROM drives or anything or networking capabilities. So we'll see. Let me poke around with this a little bit. I don't want to mess around too much for this video because this video is intended just to be a conclusion to part one. So if I have to do a follow-up video, I will. But let me poke around for a little bit and see. All right. I don't know if I have it or not, but I might have it. Let's see here. Maybe not. Nothing. So it's probably not working. It's probably getting some configuration I've got to update or change. I guess I'm not going to mess around with it too much for this video because that's not the point. I want to just wrap this thing up and... Okay, so future cause here. Managed to get it working. Turns out that the card that I was initially testing is not working. I'm not sure what's wrong with it. And I probably have to plug it into another machine and see if I can even get it to detect, and who knows. But as you can see here on the left, 1 gig drive, and I copied just a couple of files there, and I also created a test document on another machine to see if it would open up here, and it does. So cool. So I have ways to get software onto here much more easily than a floppy drive or via CD-ROM. So cool. Back to the video. 80% battery remaining. So yeah, it definitely doesn't have a long life to it. So all right. Well, let's discuss what my future plans are for this thing. So initially, I didn't really care about this so much. It came in a lot. I was more interested in the Toshiba laptops because they were 486s, and I thought they'd be kind of neat. Plus, I didn't have any attachment to any of them, but more specifically, I didn't have any attachment to this because I've got Pentium machines. I don't have any working 486s. I mean, I do now with the Satellite 1900C, but, this was more of an afterthought. I said, all right, it's in the kit, whatever, I'll figure out what to do with it. And then especially after I saw it, how broken it was and it was just falling apart. And I said, yeah, I don't care. But the more I started thinking about it and the more I started looking into it, I said, you know what? Maybe we'll give it a shot. Let's see if I can't, glue everything back together effectively. And I kind of did, but it wasn't good enough for me. Going out and being able to find the replacement, effectively a replacement laptop, because that's what's basically running here. The only thing from the original is the display assembly and the keyboard. Everything else came from the parts donor, which now is no longer their parts donor. So the fact that everything was working and that it was mostly intact and everything, yeah, you know what? Okay, fine. And then I started, thinking about it even more and more and more. And I realized, you know what? I need something like this. because there are going to be times where I'm not going to be able to use my NEC Pentium PC because it's taken apart to do upgrades, or it's being prepped for another video or what have you. Or maybe I don't even have it up on the desk. I have something else going on, but I need a Pentium class PC to test something out, demo something, whatever. So that's what this is going to be for, basically. It's too brittle for me to use day to day, so to speak, but it's good enough, for me to bring out, put up on the desk. The battery will probably last about a half hour, which hopefully is long enough for most demonstrations. And if not, I can always plug it in. I've got a couple of universal chargers, so it does hold its time since I do have a replacement CMOS battery in there. I took the RAM that the original one came with to install here because this didn't come with the additional RAM, only the 16 megs on board. Just got a total of 48 on there now. Yeah, I'm happy with it. I don't know what you guys think. Should I have bothered with any of it? Should I have done more with it? Let me know down below. Otherwise, thanks all. Catch you later.